Welcome to Midnight Mule FPL. I'm Midnight Mule and this is the video for Game Week 5 where I look at the popular players and the players that have had a lot of transfers in. Now it's a bit of a strange game week because there aren't, in my opinion, any really good fixtures. So when we come to the end of the video and we look at the benching order, it may seem a bit weird, but that's just because none of the fixtures are obviously great in my opinion, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So Liverpool at home to Everton. Had that been last year, you might think that's great, but Everton have been much better this season, and Liverpool haven't been winning any games unless it's in the last few minutes. So that could be a really close game, and it's the early kickoff, and because it's a derby, the form goes out the window quite a lot. So that may be a good win for Liverpool, but that is by no means an easy fixture. Spurs away to Brighton, there's nothing special there. At the beginning of the season, we thought, it's very late. It's actually 1 o'clock in the morning at the moment. At the beginning of the season, we thought Forest away to Burnley would be good, but Forest have been very poor, and Burnley at home, they're actually quite good. Then Palace away to West Ham. So West Ham, that's possibly the best fixture of the whole lot. Palace away to West Ham, but even that's not great. Wolves Leeds, there aren't many Wolves Leeds attacking players that are very, very popular, so that doesn't affect us. And I think there's going to be goals for both sides there. United Chelsea, that's a tough game. Fulham Brentford, nothing special there. Bournemouth Newcastle, Newcastle defensively very good, as are Bournemouth, so nothing there for the attackers. Aston Villa, you'd have thought away to Sunderland would be good, but Sunderland defensively, especially at home, have been quite good, and Villa can't score. And then we have Arsenal Man City. So, in summary, no really good fixtures, so the benching order looks a bit silly. It's not a good week to wildcard unless you've got a lot of troubles. But if you can afford just to limp on one more game week, I think you'll be better off wildcarding next game week. So we're interested in who are the popular players. And this chart is showing this game week who's popular around the 4 million rank. That is, the managers around 4 million. I've sampled a few thousand teams around there, looked at who their players are, then allowed for transfers in and transfers out for this game week so far to see what the actual ownership levels are. Because there's no point looking at the whole game ownership levels. It means nothing. There are so many zombie teams and it gets worse as the season goes on. So the most popular player is João Pedro, we see here, 76.4%. So if you don't own him and he does well, he is going to really hurt your rank. Whereas if we go the other end of the scale, there's a purple one here, for example, Foster, Mark Gay. Take this one's also made for Newcastle. He's not highly owned at the moment. I'm guessing around 5.7%. So if he does well and you don't own him, you really don't care. Richarlison, if he does well, you don't care. Isak, if he does well, you don't own him, you don't care, but he will grow a bit in popularity yet. But João Pedro, you need to care about him. He'll hurt you. Next most popular is Salah at 65.2%. He's going to really hurt you if you don't own him. But it's difficult to own him and Haaland, who's currently around 39, around 40% ownership. So some managers have got Haaland and Salah. So if they both do well, that's great. If you've only got one and the other one does well, that is going to hurt your rank. But as things stand, Salah's got the potential to hurt your rank more. And then Semenyo's at 53.5%. Another high one here is Van de Ven. He's now the highest owned defender by a long way for the teams we're looking at. So if you can own these 5 players, João Pedro, Salah, Haaland, Semenyo and Van de Ven, you've got a fair bit of protection in there. If you don't own one or more of those and they do well, your rank's going to suffer. And then the next highest we have Reinders at 37.1%, Kudos at 34.4%, Pedro Porro at 30%, but he's gradually creeping down the way. So you can see we're now getting a picture of who are the players we want to be thinking about. Do we want them? So let's look at the players now, starting with the goalkeepers. Sanchez is the most important goalkeeper in as much as he's the goalkeeper that's going to hurt you the most if he does well and you don't own him. But he's not expected to do the best. It's just his ownership levels. So when it comes to goalkeepers, if you've got a playing goalkeeper, don't make a transfer. Don't care who you've got. Absolutely not worth it. If you're wildcarding, then you can think about changing your keeper. And of course, on a free hit, get the best keeper for the week. And also, none of these keepers are high enough owned that you should really care who your keeper is. You just want a keeper that's all right. So Sanchez at 5 million, he's all right. I probably wouldn't choose him now as my keeper. I do have him, but if I was wildcarding, I wouldn't go for him. But he's all right. Ray is very popular. He's growing in popularity from game week 7. Arsenal's fixtures are very nice. So some managers are having to wildcard this week because their team is too shocking. And most of those that I've seen online are going for Raya. He's quite a safe pick. And then Sales is still very popular, but Forest really haven't been very good. And with their new manager Ange in charge, there are some expectations that their defence is going to get slightly worse. So he's not worth getting. Vicario for Spurs. Spurs have been good. He's all right. Becker's good, but he uses up a Liverpool slot. So personally, I wouldn't be buying him because I would want the option of having 3 outfield Liverpool players. But he's a perfectly good keeper. Kelleher, he's possibly the best 4.5 million keeper to have. Petrovic's also 4.5 million. Not much between those. Both very lowly owned. So Pickford, 5.5 million. We've got 4 5.5 million keepers on this page. And 4 of Everton's next games include away to Liverpool and away to Man City. So not great. That's 2 games he's unlikely to get a clean sheet. So you shouldn't go buying Pickford now. Probably you can if you want, of course. But not worth getting. But if you've got him, he's a great fine keeper to have, no problem. Everyone should have Dubravka, 4 million playing keeper. Sits on your bench most weeks. And then Donnarumma, I've added him now because more than 100,000 managers have brought him in. Man City, obviously going to be first choice. He's very, very good. If you think you're not going to want 3 outfield Man City players, he's fine to have. But if Foden keeps playing and Rangers keeps playing and you're going to want Haaland, and it might be you want Aiton Norris when he's back, you might want Gvardiol, you got to think, do you want to use one of your Man City slots on a keeper? But if you do, he is a very good choice for a keeper. So for the defenders, going to look at the first 2 together. That's Virgil van Dijk and Van der Ven. Virgil's 6.1, Van der Ven's 4.7. And according to Solio Analytics, Virgil is expected to get 4.9 points this week and Virgil 3. But they will do the same amount of damage if that's what they get, which is minus 1.3. And that's because so many more people own Van der Ven than Virgil. So if you've got enough money and you could have either, Virgil van Dijk's the better choice, but Van der Ven is also very good. If you can have both of these, that's great. These are both good choices. So Pedro Porro, don't go buying him. If you want a Spurs defender, just get Van der Ven or even Romero, who I'm not showing you because he's not high enough owned. Pedro Porro was on set pieces, which made him a good choice. But now Spurs have got Xavi and he's taking a lot of the set pieces, as is Kudos. So Pedro Porro is now just a defender. But for cheaper, you can get Van der Ven. So if you've got Pedro Porro, it's fine to keep him. Wait until you wildcard or you've got lots of free transfers, then move him out. So don't go buying him, but he's all right to have. And then a couple of Palace defenders here, Munoz and Guehi. So Guehi's higher owned than Munoz, but Munoz is expected to score more points. So they're both going to do you similar damage if you don't own them. Palace have away to West Ham, then they got Liverpool, then Everton and Bournemouth. They could easily get 2 or 3 clean sheets there. And they've both got a chance of getting extra points beyond just clean sheets. So they're both good choices. Cucurella, he was a sub in the last game. He came off the bench. If that was a one-off, then fine, Cucurella is a great choice. But if we're going to start to see rotation and he's not getting his 60 minutes, then Cucurella is not worth buying. So at the moment, I wouldn't risk getting him. Plus, 2 of the next 3 are away to Man United and they've got Liverpool. So if you've got him, that's fine. I personally wouldn't go buying him now, though. Sensi's only 4.6, popular, growing in popularity. He's good to have. Gabriel is popular, and from game week 7, he's probably going to be very popular. Quite possibly the Arsenal defender with the best potential minutes. That is to say, he's the safest defender to have. Expensive though, 6.1 million, but if you can afford him, he's a good choice, especially from game week 7. Second page of defenders, we have Konza. So he's only 4.5 million. Villa have been poor attacking wise, but he has got a chance, of course, of getting clean sheets. The next 3 fixtures on paper, you'd have thought wouldn't be too bad. Sunderland, then at home to Fulham, at home to Burnley. If you've got him, I'd say he's fine to keep. If you're wildcarding, personally, there's no way I'd get him. You don't have to ship him out, though. And Calafiori, look at that. I'm too tired to say words properly. I can't normally say them well anyway. 5.7 million. His minutes aren't as secure as Gabriel's, but they look like they're going to be all right. Often get 80 minutes plus at the moment. So he's all right to have. He's a nice attacking player. Next 2 fixtures aren't great, but from game week 7, good choice. Nico Williams, don't go buying any Forest players. They've got 2 good fixtures and then their fixtures aren't as good at all. If you've got them, they're fine to have. But if you're wildcarding, don't get them. And even if you're free hitting, if I was free hitting, I wouldn't be getting a Forest player simply because they've been so disappointing. Timber, minutes probably not as secure as Calafiori. But if he gets the minutes, he's good. But there's a bit of a minutes risk there. So that's up to you. Again, 5.7 million. Not worth getting if you've not got him until game week 7. Tarkowski, absolutely fine to get. 5.5 million. Could get 4 points because of defensive contributions in any game. You can just play him every single week. Electric Steve's popular. And if you have to play him, that's right, because he plays all the time and he can get some extra points. Murillo, he was great last game week. Got injured on 30-something minutes, 31, 33, somewhere around there. And by that time, he'd got his 10 defensive contribution, which gave him 2 extra points. So he went off after half an hour and he had 3 points. So that was great. So if you've got him, that's fine. Absolutely don't go buying him. He is flagged, but I'm expecting him to play, and I'm hoping he is because I've got him. Goodmanson, nice and cheap, 4 million. And that's the defenders. For the midfielders, you'll not be surprised to see that Salah is a good player, marked as good, and he is the most important. If you've not got Salah this game week, he could really hurt your rank. If he does well against Everton, because he's so highly owned, that's an issue. It's not worth taking hits to get him in, and some managers are selling him this game week to fund getting Haaland, and a lot are planning to get rid of him next game week on a wild card, again to get in Haaland. But if he does well this game week, they might want to reconsider that move. Semenyo, 7.5 million, and he's very good. He's absolutely worth getting. Fixture may not be great this week, but if you're wildcarding this coming game week or anytime soon, absolutely worth getting. If you've not got Semenyo, he should be very high on your list of players that you want to be bringing in soon. Because he's going to be highly owned, he's going to hurt your rank. Kudos is highly owned. He's all right, I'd say, from an FPL point of view. Not great, but all right. But because he's highly owned, on the weeks he does well, that's going to hurt your rank. If you can pick 5 other midfielders you'd rather have, and you probably can, that's absolutely fine. But if you've got him or you want to get him, that's all right. Gakpo, minutes are probably going to be all right with Isak coming in, but we don't know for sure. If you've got him, that's fine. Everton, then Palace. Fixtures are okay. I wouldn't go bringing him in, but if I've got him, I wouldn't be worried about him. Reinders, okay, they're away to Arsenal this game week, but he's only 5.7 million. I think he's perfectly good to have. He's getting 90 minutes every games. So Palmer's a good player. I know he's not been great for FPL in the last several game weeks going back through last season, but he is a good player and he is expected to do well. His ownership's not huge at the moment, but it's probably going to increase, especially if he scores this game week or gets an assist. So he may be someone you need to get. Some managers are selling Salah to get in Palmer next game week, which releases enough money for maybe Watkins to Haaland if they make another change. But I'm expecting Palmer's popularity to increase. Fernandes, not massively popular, but he is, as much as people hate on Man United, he should be a solid player. If you've got him, I wouldn't worry about him. He's fine to keep. If I was wildcarding, I probably wouldn't bring him in, but he has got a nice game week in game week 7, home to Sunderland. Wirtz has been disappointing for those who own him. I don't own him, But personally, if I had him, I wouldn't be getting rid of him at the moment. So I wouldn't bring him in, but I think he's fine to have. Second page of midfielders, we have Grealish, 6.8 million, growing in popularity. He could get an assist in any game. Possibly not this game week away to Liverpool, but generally speaking, he should be all right. You'll see Man City's marked as red on here. That's because he's actually a Man City player on loan, so he can't play that game. So if you've got him, just be aware in game week 8, he's not going to play for you. Mbeumo's a good player. Arguably the best Man United player to get if you particularly want a Man United player. He could do well in any game. If I had to have a United player, I would probably go for Mbeumo. If I had him, I'd be comfortable with that. But if I was wildcarding, I probably wouldn't get him simply because there are other players I'd rather have and I'd need the funds elsewhere. Enzo's nice and cheap and ticks along, 6.6 million. None of these players are going to hurt your rank, so you don't need to fear any of them. None are hurt you at the moment. Eze, so he's obviously a very good player, and if he starts getting loads of minutes, which he may well do, then by game week 7 he could be a very popular player, because that's when Arsenal's fixture run starts being good. Dewsbury Hall, nice and cheap, only 5 million, ticks along nicely, and will occasionally get a nice big score. Caicedo ticks along, 5.6 million. I know he's got a couple of goals so far, but he's just nice and cheapish and can sit there and get you 2, 3, 4 points every game week and every now and then something higher. So most game weeks you'd expect Mbeumo to outscore him and a lot of the other midfielders to outscore him, but for someone cheap, he's absolutely fine. Xavi, 7 million, growing in popularity. He's probably going to be very good. Be interesting to see how he does the next couple of game weeks. But people wildcarding, a lot of wildcarders next game week are probably going to bring him in. Zubimendi, and these three, by the way, Zubimendi, Xavi and Caicedo, they're here because they've all got more than 100,000 transfers in at the moment. But as things stand, none of them are going to hurt your rank if they do well. Zubimendi, it looks like his minutes are going to be okay, only 5.4 million, and he's going to tick along with 2 points, sometimes 3 points. And occasionally he might get a decent score. Personally, at the moment, I wouldn't be buying him, but he's all right. Regarding the forwards, João Pedro, you don't have to own him, but you're in for a lot of pain if you don't own him, and he does well. One of the reasons he's so highly owned is he only costs 7.8 million, which is quite cheap for a playing forward who is doing well. And then, of course, Haaland. Haaland's expected to do better than João Pedro, but he costs 14.2 million, which is a huge amount. From next game week, assuming Haaland doesn't get injured, he's going to be much higher owned. So if you're wildcarding, it's worth putting Haaland in your team because you're really going to need him. And if he does well and you don't own him, because of his ownership levels, he is going to hurt your rank. So Gyökeres, very good. Arsenal's fixtures very good from game week 7. Should be all right. And if you had those 3 forwards on the screen at the moment, they are the best 3 forwards to have, probably. But then that's quite a lot of money and you won't be able to afford Salah and Palmer unless the rest of your squad's rubbish. But all 3 of those are good. João Pedro will hurt you the most, then Haaland. Then Gyökeres is the one that's going to hurt you the most next. Ekitike, I wouldn't worry about him. He was very popular. He's waning in popularity though. And Isak should be taking minutes off him. So you don't need to worry about him. Absolutely don't go bringing him in. If you've got him, you can keep him the next 2 game weeks if you want. Mateta should be quite good for minutes. Fixtures, well, away to West Ham this week. That's all right. I wouldn't go buying him, but he's absolutely fine to have. And he should get you some nice points. You don't need to fear him too much though. So Chris Wood, Forest player. Don't go buying any Forest players. But if you've got him, just hope he plays and scores the next 2 games against Burnley and Sunderland. And by the time you get to game week 7, you can just offload him. Absolutely don't go buying him though. Watkins, don't go buying him. If I had Watkins, I'd be fine to have him, playing him away to Sunderland this game week, then Fulham and Burnley. I'd be alright keeping him, but the reason not to keep him is that Pedro and Haaland and Gyökeres are all better players. So if you're wildcarding, obviously offload him. If you're not wildcarding, you might want to keep him for another week yet. Richarlison's not getting the minutes, not expected to get the minutes, totally fine. to get rid of if you've still got him. So I've also made from Newcastle, good player. If he settles in all right, he's possibly going to be very good. But he's low owned at the moment, so he's not going to hurt you. But he's in the system because he's had more than 100,000 people transfer him in this game week so far. Isak, not super popular yet, but lots of managers are transferring him in. Assuming he doesn't get injured, he's obviously going to be getting, maybe from game week 7, lots of good minutes for Liverpool. Should be getting lots of goals, should be getting lots of points. And the second page of forwards is simply Foster and Mark Gay. They're both bench fodder. Foster's 5 million, Mark Gay's 4.4 million. But the difference between them is Foster's going to be playing. So if Foster has to come in for you, he's going to get you 2 points, sometimes a bit more. Mark's not. He's going to get you pretty much 0 points every game if he has to come in. So benching order. This season I've been starting with the best player working down the way, but somebody gave me a comment last week that they'd rather I started with the worst player and worked up the way like I used to, because of course you bench your worst players. The reason I'm not doing that is because in the last 3 seasons I've been assuming all the players you've got are going to be somewhere in what I'm showing you, but I know most people don't do that, which is why I've started showing you the best players. So for the goalkeepers, I think Ray is the best keeper this game week, allowing for ownership and expected points. Then after that, it'd be Becker, Sells, Sanchez, Vicario, Dubravka. I've seen a lot of people online considering playing Dubravka as their keeper, even though they've got, for example, Sanchez or Raya. Personally, I wouldn't do that. But if you want to, that's fine. Then Petrovic, Kelleher, and Donnarumma. Donnarumma is a very good keeper, possibly one of the best or the best on the page, but away to Arsenal, and he's so low owned, he's not going to hurt your rank if he does well. Then we have Pickford away to Liverpool. And for the other players, this may seem a bit strange, the order I'm showing you, but it's just because the fixtures aren't great this game week. So apart from 6, which I've put aside for potential captaincy choices, my suggested order is of importance: Gakpo, Palmer, Ekiteke, Mateta, Wirtz, Watkins, Mbeumo, Chris Wood, Virgil van Dijk, Gabriel, Munoz, Guehi, Senesi, Xavi, Voltemars, Eze, Isak. Now I've put Isak down here, but he's expensive, and I kind of think if I had him, I would probably play him. He'd be first on my, or probably third choice. He would absolutely be playing for me, and even if he just come on for 10 minutes at the end, he could still do some damage. But there's a reasonable chance he's only going to get 1 or 2 points, but he could get 10. So if you want to put him higher, that's fine. But just beware, any expensive players you've got, you should either play them, or else why have you got them? You might as well sell them. Rangers, Kudos, Tarkowski, Murillo, Cucurella, Caicedo, Enzo, Califiori, Dewsbury Hall, Grealish, Timber, Van der Ven, Pedro Porro, Williams, Konza, Richarlison, Zubimendi, Goodmanson, Foster, Electric Steve, Mark Gay. Regarding captaincy, Salah is probably going to be the most captained player, and he's possibly the best choice. He's certainly the safest choice. So that's who I'm currently going to be going with. However, Haaland, he's on a very hot streak at the moment. He can score against anyone. So even though he's away to Arsenal, nobody be surprised if he got a couple of goals. So he's a perfectly sensible choice. Semenyo, he's done well recently. He's okay. Home to Newcastle. As is Goalkeepers at home to Man City. Fernandes at home to Chelsea. He can do all right in any game. Or even João Pedro. But I think Salah and Haaland, for me, are the best 2 choices. And of those, Salah is clearly the best. There we have it, my rather rambling video for Game Week 5. It's like gone 1 in the morning now. I was going to get this up several hours ago, but lots of stuff was happening tonight and I just couldn't get around to recording it. Hopefully that was a little bit interesting. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a fun Game Week 5. Thanks. Bye.